Yo, did you know that Americans buy over 50 billion bottles of water a year? That's billion with a B. And that the average American family spends over $1,300 a year just on bottled water alone. And all those bottles just wind up in the landfill or in our ocean somewhere. The real kicker, of course, is that over 60% of all the bottled water we buy in America is just glorified tap water. I know it's marketed as the safe, the healthy solution, right? It's supposed to be good for you. But look, all that plastic in those bottles is not just bad for the environment, for the oceans, for the landfills and all that. It's bad for you, for your physical body. You don't need to be drinking in all that plastic. You're going to turn it into a big Lego person, okay? But seriously though, I went down weeks-long rabbit hole. Let me tell you, there's no deeper rabbit hole than the rabbit hole of trying to find clean, fresh, affordable, and good tasting water for yourself and your family. So I went down that rabbit hole and I came out with a solution that I find to be wonderful for me. I'm so happy. I wish I had done it years ago. So we'll get into the specific product that I chose in a minute. But first, I want to walk you through the thought process behind my decision making, so that you can make your own informed decision for yourself and your family. Now look, my situation was a little different than many because years ago, like really many years ago, I stopped drinking bottled water. I already kind of knew that wasn't the move for me, but that meant that I was spending like $100 a month or more on glass bottled water from Costco. It's really good. I like it, but it was $100 a month. And plus, I had to wind up with like almost 500 bottles to recycle at the end of every month. It was just ridiculous. And I mean, this went on for years. So finally, I had to examine my life and say, what the hell are you doing? Right? The problem is I got to get rid of bottled water. So you might say, they're basically just filtered tap water anyway, so why not just use tap water instead? Well, that sounds like a great idea in theory, right? I mean, this tap water looks fine to me, smells mostly okay, except for no one really trusts the tap water, right? For whatever reason, it's got a bad rap. The fact is, the tap water is highly regulated, unlike the bottled water, all right? So it's removed a lot of the bacteria and viruses and things like that that can cause you harm. But the process they use to remove those things is harsh chemicals, right? Chlorine and things like that. And there's a lot of sanitation byproducts that still persist in almost all the tap water. And that's one of the reasons why, people don't trust it. It kind of smells a little funny sometimes, might look a little funny depending on where you live. And it definitely doesn't taste the same as the bottled water. So we got to find a solution that gets rid of the bottles and fixes the tap water. Bottom line is, you're going to have to get a filter, right? Someone online I saw somewhere said, if you're not filtering your water, then you are the filter. And that's exactly what we're dealing with. So you start looking into the different options for filtration, and it's like, okay, now it's a whole nother rabbit hole, right? You got the whole home filter systems, you got the under sink filter systems, you got the countertop filter systems. And first of all, before I get into that stuff, you want to say, what about the pitcher, with the filter in it, or the filter on the little thing that you put on your spigot in your sink, or the refrigerator filter, right? Look, those things are not adequate. They don't do a really good job of filtering. You're just wasting your money on that stuff. And on top of it, even if they did do a good job, almost immediately after you buy them, they're clogged up with gunk. You got to change those filters much too frequently. I literally have no idea how to get the filter out of my refrigerator filter system to change it if I wanted to right now. So that's kind of not an option. Not to mention the pitcher systems are basically all plastic, so it still defeats the purpose there. Now, when you look at the whole home and the under sink and the countertop, I went with the countertop version because the first two have some pros and cons, but they're both mostly more expensive, and sometimes, quite often, you have to get someone in to actually install those things. It's just not as convenient for me. But if you have more money than you have countertop space or a bigger family, you might look into one of those first two options. Now, with the countertop, then I started looking into the other rabbit hole of what are the different kinds, there's different kinds of filtration, right? So you have your activated carbon, you have your reverse osmosis, and you have your water distillation filtration systems that you can get for your countertop. And some of those things you can also get for under sink and whatnot as well. Do your own due diligence, and you might find that, for example, if your municipality doesn't have the best water out of the tap, that you might want something that's maybe reverse osmosis or one of these other systems that filters for what you're trying to get rid of out of your water. Don't forget to check ewg.org to see what your water is shown to have in it from its independent testing from all over the country. So when I was going through the research, a lot of people, a lot of information online was kind of steering folks toward the reverse osmosis system. And there's nothing wrong with that system in terms of the effectiveness of filtration, right? But I wound up going with this more gravity-based activated carbon system like this, which is a King tank from a company called Waterdrop. There are dozens of other companies literally that make these kinds of canister gravity-based systems that you can get. There are different sizes and different price points. This was a really good price point for me. There were definitely ones that were much cheaper, but I found sometimes that they weren't the most reliable. There are some that are much more expensive. This one was great. The criteria I mostly went with was effectiveness, of course, in terms of the filtration, the cost, right? How much does it cost, and how much do the filter replacements cost, and how frequently do they need to be replaced, as well as the customer service responses. This was one of the best I found in terms of people having any issues and they were being resolved immediately, and also really high quality in terms of the materials. It didn't leak and all this kind of things. And some of the little features they had I liked a lot. For example, it's got a little thing that tells you exactly when you need to put more water in. So if the water level is getting low in that bottom canister, you just fill up the top canister with more water and away you go. So I have had this thing for about 6 months now. I think I paid $200 or close to $200 or something like that for it. I haven't replaced the filters yet, but I have had no problems. In fact, I enjoyed it so much. I got one for my mom about a month after I got this one, and she's enjoyed hers as well. I will say that if I hadn't bought this right now, it would have been about $600+ I would have been spending on those bottles, as opposed to the $200 I spent on this. So it's paid for itself. Even if you have a bigger family, you could either get 2 of these or perhaps go with a different kind of system. But for us, we go through maybe a gallon or 2 a day, and this is very easy. You just put some water in there in the morning. You got water all day. I got a glass pitcher that I fill up and keep in the fridge when I want cold water. It's a perfect solution. I really enjoy it. So look, there is a link in the description below if you want to check out this model. Also keep in mind that if you're an outdoors person or a survivalist or what have you, you don't want to be using something like this to go filter your pond tap water with the duck poo, because it's not what it's for. This is really for filtering, water that's been already sanitized by your municipal system in wherever you live, okay? But I will say that this is far better for you than going through the plastic bottles or the more expensive glass bottles like I was doing, or drinking the tap water straight from the tap. This is the best of all those worlds, and it's gonna last almost forever. You just replace the filter once or twice a year. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed this. If you like this, or if you have a different solution that you like, put it in the comments. We'd love to hear about it.